Haidong! So in this video, we're going to talk about 5 things you can do at home to practice your gumdo. Alright, so the first drill I would like you to work on is candle extinguishing. So if you want, you can start off with just one candle. Now obviously if you have the space to actually be able to use your sword, by all means do that. But for now, work your way up, right? So if you're here, just using your 2 fingers, right, you want to be able to stop right above the candle wick right here. So again, what is this working on? This is working on your relaxed motion, right? So you're not kind of trying to get out, trying to be very relaxed, right? So it's very similar to swordsmanship where you want to have that smooth transition, right? So you want your muscles to be pretty relaxed, again, engaging only the biggest muscles. So candle is actually a good way to work on that. So this is also working on focus, relaxed concept, right? So if you're here, again, you can have 1, 2, bun, and extinguish it. And when you do that one consistently, go on to 2. And obviously, you can just keep going, right? So if you consistently get 2, go on to 3. Like so. So number 2, let's work on the target throwing for throw cutting. So today we'll be using a tennis ball to practice our throw cutting. So a couple things to remember when you're practicing the throw. Remember that when you're throwing the target, it shouldn't necessarily be, again, harmful to your own body. So the way I like to think of it is if you think about a trebuchet, right? So this is all rigid, right? So instead of doing a lot of turning at the joints, think about all this rigid and just pulling it from this point. So it's just at one point coming up this way. Make sense? So instead of doing something like this where you're doing a lot of small muscle activity, so going to be a running theme with swordsmanship is using the bigger muscles. So again, just engaging the deep shoulder. If you want to get into a nice deep stance, you can. From here, you can engage the glute, engage the rib a little bit, and cup underneath. Come up this way. So what I like to do is have 3 trials. So from here, 1, right? So notice that it's not spinning. The more it spins, it's going to come back down pretty quickly. So I want to kind of just hover, right? So 1, 2, and then from there, I'll throw it. So a drill that I would recommend you do at home, so long as you have a nice high-ish ceiling. Obviously, if you can't necessarily do a throw cutting, have a target in front of you and aim for it. So again, in general, you want to be within a double step and still within a cutting distance. Right, so for me, that might be a little bit far, so I might start a little bit forward here. So all I want to do is have, again, rigid, so I don't want to bend my elbows too much. Rigid, so again, 1, 2, and then aim, 3, and see what happens. So again, making sure that you're not throwing it out that way, and you're trying to hit it almost so you can hit the ceiling and drop back down. So remember, the higher it is, the more time you'll have to actually jump in there and do a cut pretty quickly. Once you feel confident with throwing it and hitting it about where you want it to be, try throwing it and give me a double step into the target. So for number 3, I want you to work on the pinky ring middle. So again, I had a video before talking about using those to actually engage your cut a little bit more. So just like the video we did before, and this is something you can do at home, all I want you to do is have fingers out. Again, try to press your arm fully out using the edge of your palm, pushing it straight out. And all I want you to do, again, pinky ring middle. So if you're new at this, just do this a few times, right? And the more you're doing it, actually actively squeeze it, so you actually feel, again, these muscles activate, especially your deep shoulder as well. So if you do this a few times, you can also try the more advanced version, where again, we start with the palms almost straight up, pinky ring middle, curl it down. So again, you're going to feel the top activate again, and curl back up this way. So do this as many times as you can handle. And then next day, a couple more than that. Next day, more than that. So that's number 3. So number 4 is going to be the fingertip push-up. So this is going to be part of your black belt test and each black belt test after that. So if you're new at this, just go at it a few times. Again, try 5, maybe 10, and keep going up from there. So the purpose of the fingertip push-up is you're going to be activating, again, the fingers a little bit more, activating the forearm, as opposed to just using the deep shoulder when you do a push-up. If you're this way, it's going to force your forearm to engage more. Again, these are the muscles you're going to be using when you're cutting, so that's why we do fingertip push-ups instead of standard push-ups. But let's give those a go. And for number 5, working on line drills, engaging, again, the main muscle groups for your stances. So the first one I'll probably start off with is the walking stance, right? So again, remember it's about 1 foot over, 1 foot up, but about in a nice walking stance. So again, when you're here, I can have my hands out as if I was holding a sword. But again, engage the glutes. So first line, is just, again, engage the glutes, push forward. Again, feel as if someone's grabbing you by the gi and pushing you forward this way. Think about where your center of mass is, and again, pushing it straight in that direction. So if you're here, again, push, push, push again. Same thing, you can go backwards, and now instead of engaging this glute, that one, so pushing it back, 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 back. So one thing to note, as I'm sliding backwards, I'm not doing this thing. So you want to make sure you're always on the ball of your foot, right? So if you're here, and I'm sliding back, here, right? Here, as opposed to doing this thing. A quick reason why, if you're sliding back and you're on your heel, you won't be able to change course, right? So if I'm here, I'm pushing it back this way, I can't suddenly go this way without putting my foot back down, versus if I'm sliding back, I'm on the ball of the foot, and I see something happening, I'm sliding back, I can quickly shift out of the way. After you do walking stance a few times, just with the right foot forward, switch your feet. So if you're here and you're initially just doing this from here, so right now you have your left glute primarily activated. If I'm going to be stepping, activate the right glute, just going extending this way, push here. So notice I want to kick down with the heel a little bit more. So it's not just stepping here, it's more about if this knee is slightly bent, I'm going to extend it, extending it back, I'm going to kick the heel back, so I'm pushing forward this way, this way. So you're going to notice if you do this a lot, they're going to be engaging, again, your bigger muscle groups, as opposed to just walking down, right? So again, so from here, again, nice walking stance. Again, if you're more into the canonical, you can have your heart slightly further back. But for me, I'm going to have both my feet squaring up with my target. So I'm here. Again, if I want to just slide, engage the glute, push, right? From here, activate the other glute, again, kicking the heel into the floor, going in, going in. All right, if you're feeling comfortable with the walking stance, we can keep going with the sotose, the short stance, teidose, the long stance as well. So from here, very similar idea. If you want to start with a sotose, you can start with just sliding. Again, so when you're in your sotose, it's just teidose with a dead leg. You want to engage the glute, right? So engage the glute this way, pushing, again, your center of mass forward, here, 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 here. Now, unfortunately for a sotose, you can't really slide back effectively, right? And the stance is not developed to work that way. The stance is developed to move always forward, even if it's going to be eventually on 45s, but it's not really intended to go back. If you want to do going back, you can go back into pomse, right? So pomse, again, pushing, now activating this glute, pomse, pomse. And after just sliding, it's the same thing with what we're doing with the walking stance. So engage the right glute from here, again, keeping your back straight, forward. Again, kicking heel down, forward. All right, so those were 5 drills you can do at home. Keep training. Haidong!